Hey, Om Namo Narayan. Well, it's a big day today, 22nd of January 2024, and a huge day for the followers of the life of Rama, Sri Ram. So, before I start my talks, I've got two talks today. First one on Swara Yoga and states of consciousness, the next one on Kundalini and balancing the brain. So, I've just got a couple of things. As is Rama's Ram Mandir's inauguration day. I just want to hold up a photo there. What picture? Rama, Lakshman, Sita. And a copy of the Tulsi Ramayan that I got for a few years ago for someone's birth of a child. She can read it when she's a bit older. And also, I'd love to recommend this video series. But it's actually DVD. I purchased these in Delhi on the Ramayan. 6 DVDs. Fantastic. This one's actually in Hindi, which I really can't understand much Hindi, but I get the gist of everything that I see for some reason. And it's all actually, the English version is actually on YouTube. You can check that all out. So today, what this talks about today is I want to make up for the mess up that I had at the start, near the start of the talk that I did 10 days ago on the astral body and astral traveling. So there was a bit of a mix up with the file sharing, document sharing. So these two talks I'm going to give today are a result of that. So maybe it was a good omen that it happened. So I'm making additional explanations and additional videos or live shares today about that. So this talk is going to be on Swara Yoga and states of consciousness. And throughout this talk, I'll be going through a document which I only spoke a couple of lines out of this document that I wrote actually back in about 2005, maybe, so nearly 20 years ago. I wrote this and this article, and as well as this article, I've got a couple of other conceptual diagrams that I put together around the same time. As I'll just show you the photo of the book, Swara Yoga, Tantric Science of Brain Breathing by my guru, Swami Satyananda Saraswati, which was published in 1984. So along with Kundalini Tantra, which is another fantastic text, groundbreaking text, both of these two came out in 1984, and that's when I got involved with BR School of Yoga and Satyananda Yoga. So I'll be talking about that text throughout, and when I get onto the conceptual diagrams that I'll show you in a minute, which I made digitally back in year 2000, it was after I was reading this book by Stephen Hawking, Professor Stephen Hawking, A Brief History of Time, from the Big Bang and black holes. So I read this book and I had all these conceptual ideas, and so I made up a couple of diagrams and visions and things like that came to me. So I'll go through that as well. So that's in the first talk. So I'll bring up this document. Actually, before I bring up the first document, because it talks about Swara Yoga, this text, fantastic, groundbreaking text, which I highly recommend everyone read if they're interested in Kundalini or anything, breath analysis, knowing something about the Swara, you need to read that. So before I bring that document up that I wrote, which is in my book actually on Kundalini, which was finished in 2020, I'll bring up the just a bit of a bio about Swami Satyananda for the people that don't know about Swamiji. So I'll just read it off my screen. I've got two screens up, so I'll read off one while you look at the other one, if you like. So Swami Satyananda, this is as at when this book was published, 1984. Swami Satyananda Saraswati is a leader of the modern yogic renaissance. He has modernized the age-old science of Tantra and tailored it to fit the needs of today. For over 35 years, Swamiji has applied himself to the mission of spreading the practical message of Tantra and yoga to people of all countries, races, religions, and cultures. He started out with the traditional meditation techniques taught to him by his guru, Swami Shivananda Saraswati of Rishikesh, along with a photographic recollection and a deep understanding of the Tantras, Upanishads, and the yogic texts. Then he wandered, so after he left the Divine Life Society with Swami Shivananda, then he wandered all throughout India for 9 years, meeting many of the great teachers of the time. After experiencing and stabilizing himself in the highest states of meditation, Swamiji founded the Bihar School of Yoga in Mongir in 1964. There he began rigorous programs for training sannyasins and householders alike in the yoga and meditation techniques which he himself had practiced and perfected. He is now the director of hundreds of yoga centers and ashrams and is the spiritual guide for millions of seekers all over the world. So that was in 1984. So I'll just take that document off, share, get rid of that one, and so that's just a brief biographical summary that was inside the front cover of the text on Swara Yoga. And maybe I should read a little bit just from what it says about this book. So it says, by Swami Satyananda and Swami Mukti Bodhanand Saraswati. So Swami Mukti Bodhanand Saraswati is an Australian sannyasi. So that's a photo of her there with Swamiji. So the book was written under Swamiji's guidance, and really fantastic text. So I'll just read you the bit at the bottom, what it says. Swami Mukti Bodhanand Saraswati was born in Australia in the year 1959, drawn to the disciplines of yogic sadhana and ashram life. She renounced her family and country at a very early age and came to live under the direct tutelage of her guru, Swami Satyananda Saraswati. Her obedience to Guru, total dedication to Guru Seva and Guru Bhakti, and steadfastness in sadhana and spiritual life has been unswerving. These qualities form the foundation of a disciple's spiritual life, and therefore Swami Mukti Bodhanand undoubtedly stands as one of the brightest stars in Swamiji's large entourage of disciples. Her knowledge of the Swara and other yogic sadhanas was acquired under the personal guidance of Swamiji, Swami Satyananda. This book is a result of many years of research, experiments with the breath, and personal sadhana. Although it is acknowledged that Swara Yoga is one of the most important spiritual sciences contained within the Tantras, this is the first time within this century that anyone has attempted to expound this system in a thorough and a practical manner, whereby it can be utilized for the health and enlightenment of modern man. So that's very interesting. And yeah, this is a really in-depth dive into this text. Is a really in-depth guide and introduction to Swara Yoga. And I got a lot out of reading this text. I read it over and over a number of times while I was doing a bit of the sadhana as well, from the practical side of. So you got the theoretical side, which is a translation of the classical text, the Shiva Swara Daya, and then you've got the practical side, the sadhana. So this book, the text covers a lot of it, and I recommend people have a good look at that because as Swamiji, so it's Swami Satyananda wouldn't put on this cover the tantric science. So it is a science, right? So whatever you know about science, it's in here. It's scientific. So what does science believes in? Okay, the results have to be replicatable, right? So if people care to do this sadhana, they'll find out in a deep scientific way how this is replicatable and is a science, a tantric science. So now I'm going to get into this document, which I couldn't get up last week. Beautiful. So it finally came up. So this is actually from page 139 in my text on the Kundalini. Truth is within Kundalini Kriya Yoga in the Kundalini Research Project. So this is one of the chapters that I've got in there. So I'm going to read through this, and I'll just pause a little bit when I get to some really interesting correlations and things that I found. Swara Yoga and states of consciousness. So I'll just have a bit of water. That was my problem when I did the astral body talk. I didn't have any water in the room, and I didn't want to leave while I was talking. Okay, this article is about a few thoughts that I had many years ago while doing some first year psychology study. So I went to Wollongong Uni in New South Wales for a couple of years studying psychology and a science, another science major as well. So I had been reading a chapter on states of consciousness and stages of sleep, which brought back memories of a text that I had read by Paramahansa Satyananda and Swami Mukti Bodhanand on Swara Yoga, the tantric science of brain breathing. So when I started studying my psychology textbook, when I got to this info, I was researching on sleep lab analysis and research and states of consciousness. So this is what this is about. This text, Tantric Science of Brain Breathing, is with full translation of the ancient text called the Shiva Swaradaya, and its commentary of each verse explores in detail the subtle science and sadhana of Swara Yoga. So I'm just going to read a couple of verses. Shiva reveals the subtle science to Parvati Devi, his disciple and wife. Verse 71 and 72, it's on rules of the 5 tattvas, the 5 elements, right? So you've heard of the 5 elements. The 5 tattvas translates as follows. Verse 75, during the flow of the swara, first the air element is active, then fire, earth, water, and then finally the ether element. So we're talking about the chakras as well there, but we're talking about the elements, the tattvas. Verse 72, during the 2.5 gatis, Ghatis, so that's a measurement of time. These 5 elements are active in this order that I just told you about. First, air, fire, earth, water, and ether. The elements arise separately in the flow of each nadi, meaning the flow of the breath in each nostril. Then returning to chapter 17, the timing of the Swara, it states that the active nadi flows for 2.5 gatis, which is the equivalent to 60 minutes. Thereafter, Sushumna flows for 1 to 4 minutes, and then the other nadi operates. So I mentioned before that the breath flow swaps over after that period of time over to the opposite nostril, and the hemispheres swap over, right? So it states that the active nadi flows for 2.5 gatis, which is equivalent to 60 minutes. Thereafter, Sushumna flows for 1.4 minutes, and then another nadi, the other nadi begins to operate, the other hemisphere, right? The left and right nostril, Ida and Pingala. But neurologists have found the same sequence in brain hemisphere activity. One hemisphere remains active for 60 to 90 minutes. When the cycle is complete, there is a transfer of energy through a thin sheet of membrane called the corpus callosum, which conducts the energy from one hemisphere to the other over a period of 1 to 4 minutes. So I spoke about that a couple of times before, especially back in 3rd of July, Guru Purnima. So what I've got written there, this is the window of opportunity. So for yogis, this is what they're aiming at that period of time when Sushumna is flowing, the window of opportunity I've written in there. Now, returning to my psychology textbook, we will begin to see the similarities in that the sequence continues even in our nidra, steep sleep state. I will summarize the 5 stages of sleep. Scientific sleep lab experimental data. When you first climb into bed, you will probably remain awake and alert for a few minutes. If an EEG, an electroencephalogram, was connected up to you to record your brain waves, it would begin to show mostly beta waves, which are rapid brain waves that have a frequency of at least 14 per second. When you close your eyes and relax, your EEG begins to show a pattern of alpha waves, which occur at a slower frequency of 8 to 12 per second. Now, I've made this diagram below, figure 1 below. So this is in my book that I created this diagram. Figure 1 below shows the difference between those brainwave patterns, beta and alpha, and the 5 stages of sleep. So shows the difference between these 2 brainwave patterns. Soon afterwards, you begin to drift from a pleasant drowsiness into the stages of sleep. So I'll come back to this diagram a little bit later, but you can see as you're awake here, if you can see that there, and then after a little while, you slip down into stage 1 sleep, then you slip down into stage 2 sleep, slip down into stage 3 sleep, then you slip down into stage 4 sleep. Then after a while in stage 4, you come back up a little bit, stage 3, stage 2, then you're in REM state, right? The REM state, which I'm talking about a fair bit here. So, and you'll notice here, this is a typical sleeper's pattern of normal sleep through the night. You'll notice here I've got hours of sleep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the amount of time, so this is the time in hours, 1 to 2, 1 hour, right? So you'll notice that the REM stage gets wider, right? This is 1.5 hours, 3 hours, after 4 to 5 hours, it gets very much wider, and around 6 to 7. So that says a lot for people that get broken sleep. So you want to try and get a good, healthy, that's 7 to 8 hours sleep. That's why they recommend, 7 minimum, or 8 is even better, because you go through this REM state, which is very important. So the EEG patterns measured in changes in voltage of the 2 stages prior to sleep and the 4 non-REM stages and the REM sleep. So that's what I was talking about back in that diagram. The 5 stages of sleep. Throughout the night, you will drift back and forth through the 5 stages, which I just explained, right? You're back and forth, so you, right? Back and forth. It's not just go to sleep, wake up, okay? So stage 1, the EEG records small irregular brain waves known as theta waves. You are drifting into a light sleep and you can readily be awakened from stage 1 sleep. Stage 2 sleep, the EEG, which I'll get down to in the diagram below in a minute, stage 2 shows very rapid bursts of activity known as sleep spindles. If someone sneezed next to you, you probably would not hear it. Stage 3 sleep, the EEG begins to show a few delta waves at the very slow frequency of about 2 per second. Your breathing slows substantially and your muscles are completely relaxed. Stage 4 sleep, the EEG now shows exclusive delta waves. You are now in deep sleep. People would probably wander into your room without waking you. These 4 stages of sleep do not tell the complete story, however. You do not simply drift downwards into deep sleep after you get into bed and drift upwards into light sleep as the morning approaches. Instead, you spend the first 30 to 45 minutes progressing from stage 1 to stage 4, and then the next 45 minutes reversing the direction back up to stage 1. Total 60 to 90 minutes. So there's a correlation, direct correlation with Swara Yoga. At this point, you enter REM sleep. So stage 5, called rapid eye movement or REM sleep, refer to figure 2 below. So this diagram is out of my very old, one of my psychology textbooks. Shows the difference in the brain waves. Okay, so we've got the beta at the top, beta, alpha, theta, delta, and REM. Okay, so there's another brainwave that, if I had a bit more time, I would have put it into my article, into my book. I still might do that because I haven't published it yet. Gamma. So gamma brainwaves frequency. So this is the gamma frequency range is what the channelers use. So I posted something up on Facebook yesterday when I was doing a little bit of research for this article on gamma brainwaves. So it's associated with altruism, divine thoughts, and expanded consciousness, channeling. Look into the whole brain's really active, right? You've really got to look into it, okay? So now we get back to REM sleep. During REM sleep, your eyes move rapidly beneath your closed eyelids, giving this stage its name, rapid eye movement. Your body movements stop, your peripheral muscles relax, and in fact, sleep paralysis occurs, which inhibits all skeletal muscle movement in the body except the eyelids. This prevents us from acting out our dreams. This has sometimes been felt by the author, talking about myself. This has sometimes been felt by the author whilst meditating when you feel the flow of sushumna. So starting to function. You feel as though your body cannot move and you are locked into the experience within. So this is what Kriya Yogis will experience when they feel the energy flowing up inside Sushumna, and Kundalini comes up, right? So you feel like you're totally locked in. You couldn't move your body if you tried to. So this is the Kundalini, this is Sushumna. So body's locked, which is a blessing. So you're totally inside there experiencing whatever you're experiencing. Okay, so I'll expand a little bit about that on the next webinar or talk after this one. During REM sleep, the EEG shows long sections in which the brain waves resemble the waves in stage 1. Your heart beats rapidly and you breathe quickly and irregularly. Researchers report that your genitals are likely to show arousal with moisture and swelling in the vaginal areas for females and erections for males. So this is what I was talking about last week when I did that talk. I think it was the one on the astral body and astral traveling. Now, so now I've put this note down here. Doesn't this sound very much like Muladhara chakra, Swadhisthana chakra, and Agnya chakra activation with the REM activity during the visions or dreams? REM activity is associated with dreaming. When people are awakened during REM sleep, about 90% report that they have just had a vivid dream. A healthy adult has between 4 and 6 sleep cycles. So you saw the cycles back here. So there's the cycles, right? Up, 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 up. So that's four cycles. So I'm talking back here, 4 to 6. A healthy adult has between 4 and 6 sleep cycles each night, with each cycle lasting about 90 minutes. The period of REM sleep appearing about every 90 minutes is also the same length of time the Swara, the breath flow cycle in the nostrils, also the sound of the breath takes to change. And then the REM stage starts to function again. My theory, this is my hypothesis, is that the REM stage could have a correlation with the functioning of Sushumna, characterized by sexual arousal, visions, etc. As the breath becomes balanced, the electrical activity moves over into the corpus callosum, Muladhara chakra activation, and then the energy moves up to Agnya chakra, pineal gland, for a short period of time. Therefore, if we can endeavor to meditate on the breath, either by a japa, Kriya Yoga, or Swara Yoga, beyond the 90-minute duration, say for 2 hours, over a period of time, we may then have an opportunity to enter the Sushumna experience through the window of opportunity that God has provided us as a hidden mystery within the human nervous system. So we're talking about the mysteries that in the nervous system, in the body. So this can be all research, right? We're not talking about astral, or it might be a little bit difficult to get the data that we're talking about. This is the physical body. Scientists need to look. Note, the REM period increases in time as we progress in our sleep through the 4 cycles each night. So I looked at it, showed you back here. See the period of time? Much greater than up here. Okay, so a good amount of time in deep sleep, unbroken sleep, very important. Back here. Okay, so I've gone over my theory there. Therefore, I've got the human nervous system. Right. Parapsychologists, so I'm talking a long time ago, 20 years ago, when I wrote the article roughly. So the scientists and psychologists and everyone that studies all this mystical psychic phenomena and everything, so they've probably advanced a bit in those 20 years. So you could probably find some more cutting edge research, which I'm trying to keep abreast with. So parapsychologist Serena Roney Dougal has for the last 20 years been researching the pineal gland and its significance for the appearance of psychic phenomena. Serena has reported that the pineal gland is the promoter of psychic experiences and produces a number of chemicals, being melatonin, pinealine, and others, which interact and can give rise to altered states of consciousness. 4 times every night when we dream, we enter this altered state of consciousness. And according to Serena's research, this is the state in which 2/3 of all psychic experiences occur. Serena is supported by other researchers in her view that it is the raised quantity of melatonin at night that is the basic cause of the experiences. So now you want to look at melatonin and also sushumna. Another great scientific researcher who has completed research on yoga and melatonin is the Australian Swami Samnayasanand Saraswati, Philip Stevens. He lives down in Tasmania these days. So who is a consultant, or he was, consultant neurophysiologist. And I'll add a link to the ABC radio interview in this chapter references so that you can hear Swamiji's great interview. Melatonin, is at its highest level in the early hours of the morning. This is probably why it is the best time for pranayama, kriya yoga, prayer, japa, any sadhana. Most tantric sadhanas and meditations are said to be best performed between midnight and sunrise, especially Brahma Muhurta, which is the couple of hours before sunrise. Paramahansa Satchidananda, my guru, has said that if we can increase the period of time when the breath is balanced, right? Then sushumna will start to operate or awaken. Paramahansaji has also said in one of his satsangs from his teachings books that he used to practice laya, dissolution, the great dissolution. He used to practice laya as he was slipping into sleep. So we're talking about sleep again and laya. So you might remember, if you saw my last video I did on astral body and astral traveling, I did a talk, part of that talk 10 days ago. In 1986, I was talking about an experience that I had, a series of Kundalini awakenings in 1986. I'm talking about in one of those deep experiences, which was following a sexual experience, I might add, and the slipping into laya. So Swamiji's talking in this article, slipping into laya. So that experience that I was talking about in that talk on astral body, that was definitely a laya experience. So this is a very interesting topic, which I hope will be thoroughly researched in the future. So what I'm talking about now, and everybody before me has talked about, we're hoping researchers and scientists eventually get into this research. So people have been talking about research for at least more than 50 years that I'm aware of. But even before that, you see Swami Vivekananda, he was calling for scientific research back in his day. So, you know, that's a long time ago. So why it hasn't happened, I do not know. Could be some sort of conspiracy there. I'm sure great yogis like Paramahansaji, well, Swamiji's not with us anymore in the physical, and Paramahansa Niranjananda could shed much light on this area of mystery and wonder. You can see that science, so what I've talked about in this article, you can see that science is slowly validating the ancient teachings of Shiva and other great yogis who must have walked upon and graced this earth many millenniums ago. So I'll take that document. I don't want to share any more there on nitric oxide. That was just part of my book, page 143. So there's 5 pages there. So I'll close that. I'll take that off. So what I wanted to talk about now is 2 diagrams, which I wanted to bring up in the astral body talk, but didn't happen because I knocked around a little bit and didn't work out. Anyway, we learn. So here is a conceptual, digital conceptual diagram I put together 20 years ago or more, after I read this book, Stephen Hawking. All right. So I read the book, unbelievable book, and you can even see my diagrams, which I'll show you here. So you'll see this diagram here. That's Stephen Hawking's diagram there. And he's got it at the top of his diagram, he's got time, the arrow of time, right? And it's going down this way. So I reversed it in my diagram. So you can see my diagram here. And in a minute, I'll show you another diagram, which is also in this book up here. You'll see that too. So you can see this is how the unconscious mind, when your unconscious is very active, this is like the realm of Kundalini. When your unconscious is very active, this is how my mind works. Conceptually puts together things and shows you things. So I'll give you some more examples when I get into the next talk I'm doing on Kundalini. I had some revelations even today. So in this diagram, it's Stephen Hawking, which, see, I've got written here, event horizon. So this is in a black hole, at the rim of a black hole. So when you get to the event horizon, matter becomes antimatter and everything is sucked into the black hole. So I've equated that. So my mind put this together. I've equated that to the stage of pratyahara, which is the first stage of the esoteric stages of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, pratyahara, which is sensory withdrawal. So before you can concentrate on something properly inside, you've got to pass that event horizon so you can totally interiorize without the influence of the 5 senses, which are outside. So once they're all cut off, those 5 senses are cut off, you're interiorized inside. So I've put down there, once you've passed that event horizon, so the outer path, which I put up here, I don't know if you can see that. See this line I put across here? That's Pravritti Marg, enjoying the 5 senses. So that's the 5 senses that we all know about, we deal with every day. The outer path. Then we get to the event horizon down there, pratyahara, and then concentration starts when Muladhara chakra at the bottom is awakened, and then you enter Sushumna if you continue the process of awakening. So Muladhara can awaken by itself, but Sushumna is another stage of awakening. So if Muladhara awakens and then Sushumna, then you start rising up. So I've got here Sushumna Nadi, and over here I've written down here Muladhara Chakra awakening, Sushumna Nadi, and then Nirvritti Marga. I've written up here Nirvritti Marga, enjoying the sixth sense. So you're still enjoying. So even though you're inside Sushumna, so enjoyment is not only outside and inside. There's no enjoyment. So there's still pleasure and enjoyment. So we're not talking about big desires, but when you're inside Sushumna, it's ultra sensuous. And when you reach the bliss of Sahasrara or non-duality or Satchitananda, what is bliss? But total pleasure beyond the mind and the body. So here we go. Over here, I've got up here, beyond time and space. And down here, as Stephen Hawking wrote, and I just flipped it up the other way, see? Time and space. So the arrow of time down here, then up here at this arrow, beyond time and space. So as Sushumna awakens and the Kundalini rises within the Sushumna and the Brahmanadi, up through to Agnya, Dhyana, which is the stages beyond Dharana, which is concentration, down here, concentration, up here. So it's a flow of consciousness. It's not just one stage and next stage. So it's a flow, total flow when you're inside Dhyana. And then up here I've written Laya, the dissolution that we were talking about before, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is said to be the highest stage of Samadhi, and Sahasrara. So Sahasrara, if anyone looks into the teachings of Swami Satchitananda, the whole brain surface is Sahasrara. So the roots of all the chakras are in the brain. Right? So it's the upside down tree goes down, there's the roots up in Sahasrara. So I might have also explained a little bit in that book, the talk on the astral body. There's also brain doesn't stop in the physical body. Astral and causal, there's brain there. So it's the Sahasrara, which is also in the astral and causal. So we'll get into that on the next talk. So I'm just going to take that document, which was, I told you after I read this, Stephen Hawking, this is how my brain put it all together. Conceptual diagrams. So if anyone's got this, I recommend highly that people that have got some creative energy flowing in them from the chakras, from Kundalini, that they learn to express it. So this is what I'm doing now, getting out and talking. So I've bottled up a lot of stuff for the last 20 years. So it's all sort of coming out now, and it never stops flowing. So you need to express, anyone's going through this awakening or ascension, you've got to express the energy. And I'm not much of a talker, so my name means symbol of silence, Mona Murti, but or form of silence. But I've been told by Babaji back in 2020 in that channeling sessions, I've written. He said I've got to write, which I've written 2 books, and I've got four and a half, another 5 in the pipeline, and I've got to teach and speak. So now I'm coming out and doing all that. So I'm just going to take that off because I want to be exactly one with what Babaji was talking about. So if you want to listen to those recordings, this is what I'm doing. Take that one off. So here we go. Okay, so this is that second diagram I showed you on. Let's see, what chapter are we on? This chapter is from Stephen Hawking's book, is actually called The Origin and Fate of the Universe. Okay, origin and fate. So what I put up here is concept similarities, quantum physics and yoga. Like, I know nothing about quantum physics until I read this book and I started getting messages. Then I put these diagrams together. So I've written here from the Big Bang. Okay, at the top, the Big Bang and the birth of an individual as well. So I put that down there too. Birth of an individual. So then we've got expansion of the universe to its maximum size. So the universe is expanding. It's continually expanding. So it's hard to even wrap your mind around that. So the universe is expanding as we speak, exponentially. So I've got here expansion of the universe to maximum. Then I've got this little lightning bolt here. So that's the nirvriti marg. Then it turns from the expansion to the maximum. Then it turns as your awareness starts to come inward. Nirvriti marg. So I mentioned that in that other diagram, nirvriti marg. Enjoyment of the sixth sense, intuition. Then the big crunch. So the Big Bang, the big crunch of the universe, right? Or a black hole. The big crunch of the universe, layer, because layer is dissolution. And I've got Mula Prakriti. Mula Prakriti. So you want to look that up. Mula Prakriti and layer. And over here on the diagram, I've got also what I spoke about in the last diagram, Pravriti Marg, enjoyment of the five senses. Then eventually, one fine day, after we've been enjoying the five senses for many years or lesser years, Muladhara chakra finally awakens. So then the lightning bolt goes, Sushumna Nadi opens and Kundalini awakens. Right? So there we go. Muladhara chakra, then Sushumna, then the big crunch. Inside. Layer. Samadhi. So now I spoke about those two diagrams. So I've got many more of these. You know, I've probably got 50 or 100 of them. And even drawings, but, you know, I'll probably bring them all out eventually, go through them all. And hundreds of articles. So anyway, I'll take that off. So that's that. So I mainly wanted to, in this talk on Swara Yoga, so in Swara Yoga, it is a real science. So the sadhana of Swara Yoga, or some of the very interesting parts of the sadhana, is, so it's a very deep analysis of the state of your breathing. So, and the breath can be measured in inches or finger widths. So when you breathe into your palm of your hands and you're relaxed and you're breathing, very relaxed breathing, your breath extends from your nostrils or your body out. And even back in these days when this text was first transmitted, Shiva transmitted to Parvati, they're talking distance of the breath from the body, from the nostrils. So there's a correlation with the changes in the consciousness with the breath flow. So the distance that the breath flows out from the body, it changes as the elements change. So we talked about tattvas. The elements change. The elements change in a specific order. And if you wanted to analyze your breath when you're actually visualizing this in Shanmukhi Mudra or Yoni Mudra, and you're looking into the eyebrow center, Chittakash, inside, meditating, not just a casual look, but I'm talking about getting right into the meditation after a long period of time and balancing the breath and going through all the sadhana, you're looking into the elements and the colors of the elements. And as those colors change, bit of a note here for some of my scientist friends, you might notice when you're visualizing in the Yoni Mudra, the tattvas and the light spinning. So you might, I know Max Rampel and a couple other scientists are looking at electron clouds and proton clouds, electron spin. So here we go, Agnya, pineal. So look at the tattva, and it changes after a period of time to the next tattva, which is another color, and it also correlates with the distance that the breath moves from the body. So that's, and not only that, so we've got the color of the tattva, the length of breath from the nostrils. We've also got the direction of the flow. So when the tattvas are changing from Prithvi, Apas, Agni, and the air, and the Akasha, Tattva, and Vishuddhi. So when this is all changing, there's also a change in the direction of the flow. So you can actually see it when you breathe into a little, a little tiny mirror, like a shaving mirror or a lady's mirror that they use for doing their makeup and everything. So get one of those mirrors and you put it under your nostrils. And if you're very dedicated, you'll see that when the tattvas change to the next tattva, the direction where the breath is flowing, you can see it as perspiration on the mirror, the surface of the mirror. It actually changes a little bit of a direction. There's 5 different directions where it flows when your consciousness is in those different elements in Ida and Pingala. So the air element, the fire element, the earth element, the ether element. So there's a directional change in the breath when you're measuring on a mirror, also the length of the breath, and also the color, the tattva in third eye, Chittakash. So that's all I really wanted to talk about today on Swara Yoga. But if anyone cares to look at Swara Yoga, it is a real science. So is obviously Kundalini Yoga, Kriya Yoga, and all those sadhanas that deal with prana, which I'm going to be talking about for the next 6 months, starting now, and also talking next week on classical Hatha Yoga, so continuing right up to Guru Purnima. So that's all I wanted to share today, and a bit of talking, but I'm now going to have a glass of water and a break for a few minutes, and I'm going to get back into talking about Kundalini and balancing the brain, and something that I was going to talk about. I'll talk about in the next video, but this morning I was thinking about this talk and wondering when I did that talk on the astral body, I was talking about a vision that came to me in a dream in October, or just before October, 10 years ago, 2014, when I did this webinar. So this morning, I was wondering where this picture is that I was talking about in that talk on astral body. I was wondering where the picture was, and I actually saw in my dream. It's really funny. Like, again, this is how your unconscious mind works. In this dream, I saw this folder, and I saw my filing cabinet in my office, which is just behind where I'm sitting now. So I knew when I woke up that, that's where that diagram is. It's inside the folder, inside my filing cabinet. So voila, I picked it out of the filing cabinet this morning. So that's what I'm going to talk about in the next talk, next live stream. So I hope everybody has a great day, and it's a very historic day for India. And Om Shri Ram. Namaste. Hariom.